Let's hop in a DeLorean and go back to the 90s, folks. Let's do it. All right, folks, we already did the 2000s, so we're on to the 90s. That's right. On to the 90s. We're going to tackle horror movies first. Now, I'm going to, same with the other ones, I'm going to list a bunch of horror movies that came out each year of the 90s, and I'm going to give my top 3. You may notice that I don't list every movie or we'd be here forever. And the reason I don't list every movie is I may not have seen the movie or I don't like the movie. That's two. Now, there is one movie that I should talk about in horror, but I'm not. I'm going to say that for best movies of the 90s because I don't feel it's truly all horror, more cop thriller kind of movie, and you'll know which one that is. It's pretty obvious. It's a big one that's going to be missing off this list. But let's get into it. In 1990, yes, we had Dark Angel, or as we knew it back in 1990, I Come in Peace starring Dolph Lundgren. We had Jacob's Ladder that year. Nightbreed. Flatliners, which I'm not a huge fan. The movie's okay. I'm not a huge fan of that movie. I never got why it was so popular back then. The Exorcist 3, which is criminally underrated. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's an awesome sequel to the original movie. If you've never seen the second one, I'll save you time. That movie sucks. So I would just go with Exorcist 1 and 3. Those are two really good movies. Child's Play 2, which is a really cool sequel to the original movie. Fast-paced, short, easily to get through. A little cheesy, but still a cool movie. Gremlins 2, the new batch. I remember I talked my parents into taking me to see this film in the theater. I always enjoyed this sequel to the original film. Arachnophobia, which if you're afraid of spiders is a horror film. Psycho 4, The Beginning. The First Power, a cool little movie I did a review for a couple months ago. You can scroll on down, you'll see it. Starring Lou Diamond Phillips. Predator 2, which I think is a really good sequel to the original movie. Not as good, but there's some really good action scenes in that film, and they move the goal line on the story, on the lore of the Predator enough to make it interesting. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, a cool little anthology film produced by George Romero. Tremors came out in 90. I love Tremors with Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. This is when New Line bought the rights to the Texas Chainsaw series and made their first film. While I do like this movie, it's nowhere near as good as the original, but shout out to Jeff Burr. He directed that film. Night of the Living Dead remake, directed by Tom Savini. A really good remake that doesn't get talked enough about. I love that film. The Graveyard Shift, or just Graveyard Shift. I don't know why I added the. Two Evil Eyes. It's kind of like an anthology. Just two stories, though. One's directed by George Romero. One's directed by Dario Argento. If you've never seen it, it's worth checking out. It's pretty cool. The Guardian, a film directed by William Friedkin, who directed The Exorcist and The French Connection. And the It TV miniseries came out in 1990. Holy shit, it's been that long. I would go, my top 3. Tremors at number 3. Love Tremors, always have. It's a great creature feature. Just a fun movie. I would go number 2, Night of the Living Dead remake. I really like that remake. I don't think it gets talked enough about. I really do enjoy that one. And number 1, The Exorcist 3. I cannot praise that movie enough. And it has a terrific jump scare moment that's earned. And it's fantastic. For anybody who's seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I won't get into it now. But if you've never seen Exorcist 3, check it out. 1991, we got Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs. I saw that in the movies, too. I love that movie. It's not perfect, but I like that movie. Child's Play 3. Child's Play 2 was a success, and we knocked one out the next year. I don't mind Child's Play 3, though. It's all right. Body Parts, written and directed by Eric Red, which is a really good film. It's well acted, well shot. Short as hell, 88 minutes. Unfortunately, upon release, just as it was getting released, Jeffrey Dahmer got arrested, and we found out about the horrors he had been committing. And the release for Body Parts kind of got axed. It kind of got screwed by the whole thing. Rightfully so. It was bad timing that the filmmakers couldn't have possibly have known about. But we also got The Silence of the Lambs in 91. What else can you say about Silence of the Lambs? It's a great film. And Sometimes They Come Back, a Stephen King adaptation. I would go number 3, Body Parts. I really love that film. Obviously, it's on the list. People Under the Stairs at number 2. And number 1, The Silence of the Lambs. On to 92, baby. We got Candyman that year. Clive Barker adaptation. Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I absolutely love. Gary Oldman's great as Dracula. The movie's beautifully shot. The effects are awesome. It's very well acted, except for one bleak spot. And he's admitted this in interviews. And I love Keanu Reeves in most films. But in this movie, his acting and himself stick out like a sore thumb, unfortunately. He's the one negative in this film. Other than that, I love this movie. Alien 3 came out that year. Unfortunately, David Fincher got screwed by the studio. Hellraiser 3 came out in 92. Dr. Giggles, starring Larry Drake as the psychotic doctor. If you've never seen it, it's a pretty cool little slasher film. It knows what it is. It's goofy, it's cheesy, it's gory, and it's just a fun movie. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's worth your time just to check. It's definitely worth it. Split Second. This is an HBO production. It's a monster movie. It's worth checking out. It's rated R. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. Sleepwalkers came out that year, directed by Mick Garris. Now, this movie is not good by any stretch of the imagination, but you can sit down and watch it as a guilty pleasure. But this movie is batshit insane. But it's worth checking out. You can laugh at it. It's fun. Pet Sematary 2, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, starring Christy Swanson. I remember seeing this in the drive-in with my buddy Rich. I think his parents took us, if I remember correctly. And it was on a double bill with Wayne's World, if I think I remember that correctly. It's okay. It's not as serious as the TV show. It's more played for laughs, and it's a little goofy. Donald Sutherland's in the movie, but it's all right. It's fine. Innocent Blood, a cool little vampire flick directed by John Landis. Army of Darkness came out in 92, and Waxworks 2. I would go 3, Army of Darkness, 2, Candyman, and number 1, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Love that movie. 1993, we got Leprechaun with Jennifer Aniston. Return of the Living Dead 3. Jason Goes to Hell. We got Jason Voorhees back. Kind of. Needful Things. The Dark Half. The new version of Body Snatchers. John Carpenter's Body Bags. The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin, coming off of Home Alone 2. And Full Eclipse, starring Mario Van Peebles. This was an HBO production as well. This was released direct to HBO. It's a little twist on a werewolf movie, on a werewolf lore. It's worth checking out. It's fun. It's a cop movie. If you've never seen it, it's worth checking out if you can find it. John Carpenter's Body Bags comes at number 3 for me. Number 2, I would go with The Dark Half. And number 1, Needful Things. I know that's not... I like Needful Things. I always have, unapologetically, just like that film. 1994, we got Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Wes Craven returned to the Nightmare series to fix the sins of Freddy's Dead. That shitty-ass movie that sucks from beginning to end. There's not really one good piece about Freddy's Dead. I hate that movie. It sucks. It's awful. Wolf came out that year with Jack Nicholson. John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, which sadly bombed upon release, but that movie is incredible. Phantasm 3. Interview with a Vampire. Tom Cruise dipping his toe into horror. And The Puppet Masters, which I know is kind of more sci-fi, but I placed it here. Number 3, go Interview with the Vampire. Number 2, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And number 1, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. If you've never seen that film, do yourself a favor, check it out. It's a fabulous Carpenter film from the 90s. 1995, we got another anthology film, Tales from the Hood, which I actually kind of do like that movie. It's been a while since I've seen it. Lord of Illusions, Clive Barker adaptation. Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. Love that movie. Billy Zane, I still say it's Billy... I like Billy Zane as an actor, but I still say it's his best performance. I love his performance in that film. And William Sadler's not bad either. Species came out that year. I like that film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generations. No, this movie sucks. I just listed it because it came out that year. I remember renting it and being wildly disappointed in how shitty that movie was. God, that movie sucks. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers came out that year. My first Halloween movie I got to see in the movie theater. Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh. John Carpenter's Village of the Damned. And Hideaway, starring Jeff Goldblum. I would go number 3, Village of the Damned. I don't think that movie's as bad as people say it is. I actually do enjoy it. Number 2, Species. I like that film. Obviously, it's on the list. I keep saying I like that film. No shit. Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight at number 1. I really like that first film. I like the second one too, but for different reasons. Demon Knight's a really good horror film. 96, we got the first Scream, which really gave an adrenaline shot to the horror genre because it was a huge hit. The Frighteners, written and directed by Peter Jackson, came out that year. That's a really good movie. The Craft, although I'm not a huge fan, but that movie came out that year, and I know it was a big deal at the time. From Dusk Till Dawn. The Ghost in the Darkness with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas. I really like that movie. Loosely based on a true story out of Africa. I saw that in the movies as well. I've always enjoyed that movie. Thinner came out that year. Bad Moon, which I did a review for back in the fall. If you want to check that out, just scroll down. Written and directed by Eric Red. Best werewolf movie of the 90s. I know it's not saying much, but it's actually a really, really good werewolf movie. Hellraiser Bloodline came out that year, and Bordello of Blood, which I do enjoy that movie. It's a guilty pleasure, but I laugh my ass off at it all the time, and there's some really cool gore gags in it. I would go number 3, The Frighteners. Peter Jackson's The Frighteners. I like that film a lot, obviously. Number 2, Bad Moon. Really awesome werewolf film. And number 1, I'm going to give it to Scream, baby. 97, we got Event Horizon. Paul W.S. Anderson's best film, in my opinion. Next to Soldier. Soldier's probably my second favorite film of his. Or best film, in my opinion, of his. Scream 2 came out a year later. They rushed that production, although it is a pretty good sequel. Mimic by Guillermo del Toro that got screwed with by the Weinstein brothers, unfortunately, but still a decent horror film. Anaconda, a really fun creature feature if you've ever seen it, starring Jennifer Lopez. American Werewolf in Paris. Movie sucks. Full stop. That's all I got to say about that one. We got our first Scream ripoff, or inspired by Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer came out that year. The Relic, which I just did a review for a couple weeks back. If you want to see that one, just scroll down and you'll see it. Wishmaster, which is a cool little monster movie. Alien Resurrection. I've seen that in the theaters too. And Devil's Advocate. If you want to see Al Pacino chew the shit out of the scenery, check that movie out, although that movie is a pretty good movie. I go number 3 to Relic, number 2 Scream 2, and number 1 I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yes, I said it, and I'll stick with that ranking. 1998, yes, I'm reading off a list. I have to because there's too many movies to remember. We had Halloween H2O that year. The Faculty, which I really like that film. I know, again, that's more sci-fi than horror, but what the hell. Bride of Chucky, which I'm not really a fan of. I'm really not, but it came out that year. Deep Rising, which is a super fun movie. It's a shame it got dumped in February of that year. I think it was in February. I saw it in the movies, too, with the girl I was dating at the time. Love that film. It's fun as hell. It's a shame it's not more popular, honestly, but that's the way it is. We also got that year... Blade came out that year. Wesley Snipes that summer. I saw that in the theaters. Great first movie, although the second one's better. Phantoms. It's Dean Koontz adaptation. I like that film. I saw it in the movies as well with Ben Affleck, Liv Schreiber, Rose McGowan. I'm trying to think who else is in it, but that's enough. But I like that movie. Species 2, which is not as good as the first one. Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. I actually don't mind that film, although it's nowhere near as good as the newer version, but I've always been all right with that film. Urban Legend came out that year. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which is nowhere near as good as the first one. John Carpenter's Vampires. Strangeland. Phantasm 4. Disturbing Behavior, which I just watched recently. I got to do a remake. I got to do a review for that. It's the Psycho remake, which whoever thought it was a good idea to do a shot-for-shot remake of Hitchcock's masterpiece. That movie, I saw it in the movies too, and so disappointing. It's like, what was the point of this? It was, I don't know. The X-Files movie and Fallen with Denzel Washington. I would go 3 Urban Legend, 2 Halloween H2O, and 1 John Carpenter's Vampires. I love John Carpenter's Vampires. James Woods is great in that movie. I just really like that film. 1999 gave us The Blair Witch Project, which was a huge hit. I remember seeing it in the theaters. I remember people saying how scary it is. Watching it today, it's like, yeah, this movie kind of sucks, actually. But it was popular back then. I know some people still love it, but really, in my opinion now, that movie's not that good. Ravenous came out that year. Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton's big-budget Hammer film. End of Days, The Mummy by Stephen Sommers. Bats, it's not a great film, but I just remember renting that movie back in 99. The Bone Collector with Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. House on Haunted Hill remake. Really good remake. Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon. Lake Placid. Deep Blue Sea. The Sixth Sense. And here's an unpopular opinion. I don't like The Sixth Sense. Rage to Carry 2. I would go 3 Lake Placid. Yes, I like that movie that much. 2 House on Haunted Hill. And number 1 Sleepy Hollow. I've loved that movie ever since I saw it in the theaters. They gave Tim Burton $100 million to make a freaking big-budget Hammer film, pretty much. And it's spectacular. It's well acted. The production design is gorgeous. It's well shot. It's a Tim Burton movie. They're always beautiful to look at. And I just like the film. Johnny Depp's good in it. The cast from top to bottom is excellent. If you've never seen it, check it out. I love that movie. I watch it every October. But that is it for horror movies in the 90s. I will be back soon with my top movies in the 90s. And there will be a movie that I left off this list that you'll know right away on the top movies in the 90s list when I get to it. It was a big hit. Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt. I don't think I need to say anything else. Leave a comment down below if there's a movie I left off that you really like. Let me know. Maybe I just haven't seen it. I'll check it out. I'll do a review on it. Yeah, leave a comment down below. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, please. Join me here, and I will be back soon. You take care of yourself. Stay safe. I'll be back shortly. Thanks. Bye.